We're still in the morning. I'm your last person before lunch. And I'm going to make you talk. So I hope you're really excited about that. I'm really excited to be leading this session with you today. A little bit about me, a little bit about my background, and then we'll jump right into it. So I'm a principal in the organizational effectiveness practice at Tasson Consulting. And we are a global consulting firm. We've been in Canada now for about 4 years. And we do a lot of the things that you've seen today. So we're builders. We go and we build the technology. We're focused on AI. We're focused on these different spaces. And with that comes people change. And so I'm focused on how do we prepare our workforce and how do we make sure that everyone is comfortable with the new types of technology and changes that's coming through. And so I've spent a lot of time in different organizations and talking to different people. And a lot of what I'm hearing is, this is a lot, right? Would we all kind of agree? This is a lot of change, really quickly. And it's kind of this world of continuous change. How do we know where to start? How do we know where to focus? And with that, change in and of itself, as a practice, is changing. The way that we implement change is changing. I know we heard some other speakers talking about agile change management, and that's coming out. But also that we as individuals need to have change as a core competency for all of our roles. And that's going to be something that's going to keep us successful, and that's something that's going to be expected. So that as we move through these transformations and as we move through these new technologies, and as we're going out and implementing them, we have that competency and we're able to manage through really difficult change. We're seeing that everywhere, and that's one of the biggest focuses of my area, is helping people be comfortable in that space of change. So we've been hearing from a lot of experts today on a lot of different things that are happening, and I think we have a lot of experts in the room. So all of us are coming from different backgrounds, different organizations, different levels of change experience, and different experiences. And I want us to take the opportunity now in this next half an hour before lunch, before I let you go, to spend some time learning from each other. Sound good? Awesome. So let's get started. We're going to use some technology. I'm whipping out my phone out of my pocket. Oh, no, I didn't bring it up here, so I guess I'm not. Let's warm up your brains a little bit. Let's get a little bit excited about this. We're going to be using a technology over there. It's Mentimeter. And what I'd like you to do is join the conversation. So pull out your phones. The website that you're able to download it from is www.menti.com, which is up there. And we're going to populate a word cloud out of the top 3 words that you would associate with the word change. And I'm more than certain they're going to be different. Fingers crossed this works. I'm hoping that's because you're all typing away instead of it not working. I work at a technology firm, but I like to joke that I don't know much about it. Awesome. So we've got a couple coming up there. Hearts, I really, really like that. It really is about starting from the heart, right, and finding what's going to be meaningful for other people. Excitement, I'm really happy to hear that, because one of the ones that I hear a lot is fear. When I talk to different leaders in organizations, it's, where do I start, and am I making the right move? And once I've made that move, by the time I'm done, is it going to be obsolete? Is there going to be something that's going to be bigger and better? And so I'm excited to see excitement up there. Disruption, opportunity. We're starting to get really small with those words. So I think we're going to move on. If I can press it there. So I'm glad those are still getting populated up there, and they'll stay up there as we continue to talk, because perhaps it'll help drive some of this conversation. But what I'm really hoping is that all of us can spend time learning from each other. And so you're sitting with some great peers, all in different industries, all in different backgrounds, who are going to be able to share their different experiences with change with you. So at your tables, I'm hoping that you can have some great conversation. Connect with your peers, network with your peers. We have a community here that we're able to leverage from. And I've got 3 questions up here for all of us to use to drive some of that conversation. And then afterwards, I'm hoping that we can debrief as a room. Maybe we can do a little bit of a popcorn and hear from people if you're brave enough to share some of these things. So the first question that I've got up here is, what's the biggest concerns or challenges you face when you're leading change within your teams or your organizations? The next one is some strategies, which I think is one of the areas that we'd really like to focus on. How do you manage through them? What are some of those challenges, and how are you overcoming them? And what are some things that you're using to do that? And then the last one, which I feel all the time, and I'm sure we've heard about all today, change really is the new constant. So how can we prepare for that? How can we prepare our organizations to exist in an environment of rapid, ever-changing change? Sound good? Oh wow, you all look really excited. Fantastic. So spend some time at your tables. I'll give you about 10 minutes talking about that, and then we'll spend some time debriefing together. Everyone's talking. I don't really want to interrupt. This is actually really good. But why don't we spend some time just sharing some of the things that we've learned and hearing from you guys about some of the things that you might have learned from your peers. So we have some runners with mics going around. Does anybody want to share any of the strategies or any of the tips that they might have heard from some other people as well? I'm blind with these lights on. Yep, go ahead.
In our group, we actually talked about the need when you're looking at teams to be developing agile groups, cross-functional teams that can be bringing different perspectives to the table. And further to what we had heard in the previous talk, when you have a linear perspective, it can sometimes be a blocker for advancing the change. So
Amazing.
When you can have diversity of thought, when you can have clear and transparent communications, and really be able to tie all of those goals to a vision alignment, it's really empowering for people who are impacted by that change. So just really talked about breaking down those barriers and the concept of horizontal leadership. So everybody across the organization, not from a top-down perspective, can be impacted in the change transformation.
I think that's fantastic. And that really is being agile and getting that diversity of thought at the table. All of our change practitioners at Slalom are trained in agile as well. So we spend a lot of time, moving with the times when it comes with that sort of methodology and making sure that we're really comfortable in that space. And so we're able to come to the table prepared to have those diverse conversations too, right? Anyone else like to share? Wow. You guys were all talking. I saw one person over there and then in the back after. Yep,
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we were talking about 3 keywords: leadership, stakeholders, and the word empathy, right? And actually, I am transferring the message from the table, not necessarily mine. So I give the credit to my colleagues. So when you, actually, we were talking about like empathizing with people, as Joel were talking about, and then we were thinking that, okay, so leadership should really be sponsoring the change, okay, and then they should reinforce it, they should support it, they should not like support it by sponsor it at any stage, right? But the concept will be facilitated by empathizing with people, and that's where we need really like an impressive stakeholder impact assessment, right? So like we want to let's say collect the news from like floor and then take it to up to executive level, that okay, people are thinking like that, not thinking, not doing, but only feeling, and also feeling like that, right?
Absolutely.
And then so they can empathize with their people, with their employer from all the levels, so the change can be cascaded from top to down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I'm really glad you said that as well, especially when it comes to empathy. I think moving into this new world, we have a responsibility to make everyone comfortable in that space. And we talked about upskilling the workforce and making sure that we're upskilling people in empathy, right? And giving people the opportunity to learn about that and use that in the workplace, and giving them the safe space to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
we talked about the challenges, in a workplace, in a workforce, in a work team, with the speed of change and where, as well, where everyone has a voice in the process of product or service development, and how to move in the right direction in that environment where everybody is dealing with so much change and wanting to implement the best product and the best. So the strategy that we really felt was important is to continue in the production process, to go back to the end user and test what you're developing and the ideas you have with the person and the groups that are buying it, and continue to adapt it so that it really does meet the needs of the end user, not meet the needs of the power brokers in the room in the production team.
I think that's awesome. People first transformation, right? Making sure that people always have a voice and that they're the first persons who are going to be at the table. I think one of the biggest challenges that I have in my role is often the sponsors or the executive sponsors of the projects that I work on are all technology leaders. And we don't bring the business to the table early enough, and then it becomes a little bit too late for us to, once we go out and put out a product, we haven't gotten that feedback back from the front line or from the end users of our system. So that's something that I constantly face, and that I can completely empathize with or sympathize with that. One of those words. Anyone else? Oh, yeah.
So in our group, with the third question, one of the things which we thought is with constant change, one of the things which we need to nurture is change need to be associated with optimism.
Yes.
Generally, most of the time when we talk about change, the pessimism, the fear comes. So I think that culture of optimism need to be associated with change.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Sometimes I'm like at work just all the time. So I agree with that. Anyone else?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. In our group, we focused on the first point, which is understanding what our biggest concerns is. And if you don't know what the problem is, you won't be able to provide solutions. So in our team, we looked at fear of the unknown. Most times when we look at change from the negative point of view. And from our team, we also talked about us getting used to our comfort zone. We get so used to just sitting at ease. And when change comes, we see it as a disruption to our organized, busy schedule. Another thing we looked at is our non-willingness to prepare. Now, we've talked, the last facilitator told us the jobs that are available now and the jobs that will be available in the future. And from the board, we can see that AI has taken over most of the jobs that we already do. Mm-hmm. How willing are we to prepare? He said he spent 2 hours in his daily commute or whatever in his schedule to read. How many of us put in 30 minutes to equip ourselves for the future? So from our team, we sat down to analyze what the problems are and how we hope to attack this problem, which is by being prepared. Thank you.
I think that's fantastic. And we all have a responsibility, right, as change leaders, as change agents, to be leading that sort of charge and be ahead of those curves. Yep.
I think one of the strategies.
Yep. Sorry.
One of the strategies I think that we need to cultivate in organizations is to teach leaders and employees how to cultivate psychological safety. Because I think one of the reasons that people won't take the risk to go out and adapt and to change is that they don't feel safe doing so. Absolutely. So it's going to require, as the other speakers have mentioned, it's going to require us trying and failing. And we need to allow failure to be part of the workday and to pick ourselves up and move on, and not to punish failure and not to punish trying. And people will not, until we create that psychological safety, people will not try. That's one thing. The second thing is, of course, it's about building the case for change constantly. It's really helping people understand, why do we need to do this? Why am I doing this? What value is this? Yes. And it has to be an aspirational value. It can't be about the profit line, because nobody will adapt, especially in today's environment. The millennials and the people that are, have grown up in this environment of seeing constant job loss and failure, they're not going to adopt anything unless they see what's in it for them and that there's some aspirational reason for them to do so.
Agreed. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And I think even with building the case for change and psychological safety, underlying all of that is trust, right? And that's really the basis for being able to build all these things. And we have to start with building trust in our organizations and strengthening trust at all levels in our organizations so that people are able to move to those spaces where they feel psychologically safe. One or two more people? Anyone else? Perfect.
Hi. So we talked about a very specific example. So we are dealing with a need to upskill our employees, and I'm sure everyone has a similar challenge. And we are pressed for time. We have a lot of need to execute, but we also need to focus on that upskilling because we aren't going to be able to find the skills readily in the environment outside of our workforce as well. And we also don't want to put people out of jobs when they don't have the skill sets that we do need. So how do we manage that? So we have a leader on our team who has been very focused on this development piece, which is fantastic, and it's great to have that support. What we do is we actually schedule a block of time in everybody's calendar once a week. We schedule everybody at the same time, whether they're in Minneapolis or in Toronto, they have the same 2-hour block of time. And the expectation is that no one in our team schedules those people for any meetings during that time. And they are then encouraged to use it to do some online courses, to attend events, to research and read, or we also encourage our teams to share with others. So we have a skill share or a tech share at that time, and employees are given the opportunity to just book that. If they have something that they think is important and they want to share with the rest of the team, they have the autonomy to book that time and go ahead and deliver that. We also use some online tools for learning, and there's a need to create pathways for skills, and the leader is now evaluating which capabilities are actually creating pathways and publishing that information. So there's definitely a lot of support for this to make sure that people can adopt it.
I think that's fantastic. That dedicated time is so important, right? I might take that. Final chance. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating and connecting. And I did want to share with you one of my secret weapons when it comes to learning about change and managing through change is our change community. Getting you to connect here today is to help you build that community. The people that you meet here today might be the people that are able to help you through your challenges tomorrow. And so stay connected, stay connected on LinkedIn, have an opportunity to reach out in ACMP groups or any sort of community groups that you can and continue to learn about this space. So last thing, before we wrap up, we've got a question up there, same website, and that's really, what are your top pain points? And that's, a little bit for us when it comes to making sure that we're staying connected with you and making sure that we're providing you with the best sort of content at these sort of community events. We want to hear from you. What are some of the things that are challenging you so that we're able to provide the most meaningful content to you back? And then I do encourage you, you guys just met some new friends. You've got some great new peers. Take a picture, post it up, using our hashtag. Oh, look, we got some already up there. Job loss, fear of change, lack of vision, focus on training. Awesome. Keep populating them. But we do encourage you to take a picture with your newfound friends, post it up on LinkedIn, and make sure you stay connected with that community.